But anyway, Paul's wedding was funny. It was a big, he had it, you know, like in those days it was a $10,000-$15,000 wedding. That was a lot, you know, big. He had it at the Fairmont Hotel. Right, he had they had the big ballroom and they had rooms, rented rooms so we could change, you know, into our tuxes and all that. There was a couple hundred people there. They did the whole thing, you know, with stomping on the glass and the thing, and, you know, they had big tables here where the family was, all the family along here. Everybody else just sitting at tables over here, you know. There was a big dance floor. They had the big ballroom up the Fairmont, you know. So when we're in the changing room, you know, putting on our tuxedos, Phil, he's starting to kid Paul Paul was real naive, you know. I think he was a virgin after he was married. But finally Paul just got so exasperated, he said, "Damn you, Phil, I'll tell Mother on you." I'm gonna, you know, he was what, 30, 32 or something? He says, "Damn you, Phil, I'm gonna tell Mother on you." Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Well, that was the beginning of his wedding, and the whole thing that went on, it was hilarious. He didn't have me as his best man because he didn't trust me, because I drink. Phil doesn't drink, you know, but they were drinking champagne, you know, they were serving champagne all over the place, you know, so in the dressing room, there was all kinds of champagne, and Phil started to drink, and he had maybe 2 champagnes, you know, and that got him going. He was half drunk, and then later he drank some more. So for him, he was loaded. Because I drink. Phil don't drink, but he got drunk. Phil was just hilarious. You know, he was really, you know, Phil was a very clever guy. He could be very fucking funny. So he's having a ball, you know. He'd never been drunk. He's drunk now. Phil had recently come back from RADA. You know, he'd spent 3 years in England, and a little longer after he got out of RADA, he stayed in England playing theater, you know, playing on stage until they caught him and kicked his ass out, you know, because he was there on a student's visa, you know, and he was working. In his class was Ronnie, Peter O'Toole, and that's how I met those guys. When I went to England, being Phil's brother, I was welcomed. And then they liked me even better, some of them did, because Phil didn't drink and I drank. They say, "Here's a Phil that drinks," you know. It could be better. So anyway, so they asked Phil because of his, you know, Phil could sound very dignified. Phil should read the telegrams. See, there's stacks of telegrams. Oh, Phil's girlfriend is there, Jean. She was a cute thing then. You know her from when she grew up. She had to be quite a homely little broad, I thought. But she was really kind of cute. Yeah, really, real slender and had long black hair, you know, and very vivacious. She was there and she was juiced. She was drinking champagne too. So, a lot of things went on. One thing, this is later, but the first thing I think was him reading so they had him reading the telegrams. And every telegram, when it started, they offered him a mic, you know, and he says, with my elocution, I don't need a mic, you know, and he's doing the fucking Shakespeare shit. And then he gets the telegrams. People sent telegrams, they couldn't be there. So they got them from everywhere, you know. And Phil was reading them out loud, see. And he said, "Dear Paul, you know, congratulations on your wedding." Stop! Yeah, because it says stop on the telegram. It did. So he read it and he could. I mean, he had just finished 3 years of drama study, at the best school in the world, practically. So he was laying that on. And his girlfriend was handing him the telegrams. She had all of them, and she'd hand him one. And then she started opening them and looking at them first. And then she would go, "Ooh, this is a good one." And Phil would read it, And it just kept going on. And it was hilarious, but it was not funny to anybody but me. Paul was furious. So anyway, we got through with that. Oh, you know how we got through? The father of the bride was just ready to get up and close him down, And Mom came to me. We're all sitting there, and here I'm sitting near Phil, but she's over here with the father of the bride and the whole bit, the family. Mom says, "For God's sakes, Leonard, stop him." So I can't think of his name, but his father-in-law coming, and I jumped in front and I said, "Come on, Phil, it's enough, let's go." So I took him away, and that was the end of that little bit. Well, later on, they're dancing. I was dancing with her. I don't even dance. I was dancing with Jean. And then Phil was dancing with her. They fell flat on in the middle of the ballroom. They fell on their ass, both of them. And Phil's wig. Phil was wearing a wig, a toupee. I mean, yeah. His toupee got astray as he sat there, and then he knew, and he straightened it a little and started roaring, laughing, and she's laughing. Can you imagine Paul, how furious he was? That's what was happening during this whole wedding. I danced with Jean. This is a real funny thing that they didn't even know about it till later. They both hated Jean. Now, the bride and the groom, Paul and Arlene, both, they just hated Jean after that, not Phil. Oh, I was dancing with Jean before they fell. And I was clowning around because I don't even dance, but I was bending her over and, doing all that kind of shit, going, really, I kept doing that all over the place. Arlene's aunt was videoing that whole wedding. She was going around the whole wedding with the camera, doing stuff. She got a hold of us on the dance floor and followed us. She got us. Now, going all over, with this kind of shit. I kept doing that, because I got to where, and I got to where I could do it without dropping her, so I'd keep doing it, Well, when the pictures came out, her thing, somehow or other, she double exposed the fucking my dancing, mind you, with the main part of the wedding thing, with a fucking rabbi and everything. There's always just flashing, fucking up the picture, with that. That wasn't my fault. That was her fault. But that was something. But we didn't know that was happening until later. We found out after the pictures were developed, after the film. Oh, was Paul furious. But actually he wasn't mad at Phil or me. He wasn't mad at me. He was mad at her. She was shouldn't be dancing like that, Oh yeah, and there was a lot of things. Paul, when he said he's going to tell Mother, before he had said that to Phil, I had gotten warmed up for it. He said to me, I haven't been with a lot of women or anything. He says, you know your way around. Can you give me any tips, or what should I do, or what? He was, poor guy was asking for some kind of, help with the problem. It was probably overwhelming him. And instead, I told him, well, I'll tell you, Paul. And I started this long thing, you know, it was some kind of a joke at the time about, I said, get her a real beautiful, very sheer black negligee. That's the first thing. Then get her this perfume. You know, I went on and on. And then anyway, it ended up with, and go to the window and raise the shade and I'll be right over it. You know,